CitizenCon 2023 felt like the start of something amazing for Star Citizen. We had the energy, the hype, and the vision for what 2024 could be. The year 4.0 finally lands and we start seeing everything that we've been waiting for. But here we are, and the reality is, well, a bit different than we all hoped. Now, if you've been following the project for as long as I have, and many of you probably have, you know that we are no strangers to delays and setbacks. But 2024 felt different at first. There was real momentum coming off of last year's CitizenCon, and I think a lot of us hoped that this would be the year things really came together. In this video, I'm going to go over what I think Star Citizen got right this year, where things fell short, and why, despite the frustration, I still think 2025 might be the year Star Citizen truly finds its stride. So let's start with what went well this year, because honestly, it wasn't all doom and gloom. When 3.23 dropped, it brought some genuinely fun additions to the game. For me, the new distribution centers were a breath of fresh air for FPS gameplay. I've been playing the FPS elements of Star Citizen since the early days, and they've come such a long way. Right now, the FPS gameplay is really getting into a good state that feels incredible. The responsiveness, gunplay, and movement have improved drastically, and it's one of those features that I feel has finally reached a place where it's enjoyable. There's still other adjustments and additions to be made, but so far it just feels that much better. The distribution centers added this nice layer of variety that kept things engaging after spending countless hours with bunker and Orison platform missions. I spent a lot of time diving into the salvage missions, which were another highlight for me. Salvage was initially implemented in 3.18, but I hadn't had the chance to explore that gameplay until they added fracturing and disintegration in 3.22. Once I got into it, it was incredibly satisfying stripping down wrecks and turning a profit from the debris. And of course, bounty hunting was as solid as ever. I took out plenty of criminals in my Ares Inferno, one of my favorite ships when I'm in the mood to dish out some serious damage. The Gladius is probably my number one favorite, but the Ares Inferno is a close second, followed by the Anvil Hurricane. Each mission felt rewarding, and most importantly, fun. Star Citizen at its best can give you those moments of pure joy that remind you why you're still invested. And then there's the star map. We all know the old one was clunky, slow, and well, just painful to use. The new star map, while not perfect, was a massive improvement. That being said, it's not without its problems. For example, after selecting a destination to travel to, sometimes the option to set a course simply does not work. You click, nothing happens, and you're left wondering if the UI is frozen. It's frustrating, especially when you're trying to plot a route in a hurry. But overall, the interface itself feels much more modern, and despite these issues, it's better than what we've had before. The new UI overhaul was another solid step forward. The redesigned mobi-glass, player interaction system, and loot screens weren't just visual upgrades. They made navigating the game's systems a smoother experience. Now, while some of you may not care for the new player interaction system, I thought it was a good update. The updates to EVA were also a big win. Gone are the days of helplessly spinning around like a lost satellite every time you brushed up against something in space, or worse, sneezed. The new EVA system gave me that feeling of precision and control that was sorely lacking before. Small improvements like this can really add to the overall immersion of the game. And it's those little things that build up and make the experience better as a whole. So yeah, 3.23 brought a lot of great features. It had its issues, as every patch does, but it laid some solid groundwork for what could be a more refined Star Citizen. But then, well, we hit a wall. As much as I enjoyed 3.23, things started to get a bit shaky once Xenothreat hit. And don't get me wrong, I love Xenothreat. It's one of the best PvE events in Star Citizen, hands down. But oh my goodness, was the performance rough. The server stability took a nosedive, and it wasn't long before I was running into invisible wreckage, dying to bugs, and just feeling frustrated with the whole experience. I remember thinking, If server meshing was implemented, Xenothreat would have been an amazing experience. Imagine having stable servers with smooth FPS, even with tons of ships, NPCs, and wrecks scattered across the battlefield. Server meshing promises to distribute the server load more evenly, which should improve the overall performance and reduce those frustrating moments where you're fighting both enemies and the server itself. The scale and scope of Xenothreat would shine in a stable environment where massive space battles unfold without the performance tanking. That's what I look forward to with 4.0. The possibility of finally having events like Xenothreat and Siege of Orison, two very iconic and entertaining events, run the way they were meant to. One of the biggest disappointments for me this year was the lack of tech previews for Pyro. CIG made several statements earlier in the year about wanting to give players a taste of Pyro, even just a few tech previews to build excitement and show how development is progressing. But those never materialized. Instead, we got tech preview tests for server meshing, which had mixed results. Some of these tests didn't go very well at all, with stability issues, crashes, and various game-breaking bugs that reminded us just how complex server meshing really is. On the flip side, there were a few tests that showed a lot of potential, where the tech seemed to be working relatively smoothly. In one instance, they bumped the shard population up to 800 players, which was a very big moment. Unfortunately, while that was very exciting in theory, the server performance and game stability completely tanked under the strain. It's clear they're pushing the limits of what's possible, but we're not quite there yet. The delays this year didn't help the situation either. There wasn't a patch in Q1 of 2024, and while that wasn't entirely unexpected, it still felt strange. Star Citizen players have gotten used to a fairly consistent quarterly patch schedule, and the absence of a Q1 patch left a noticeable gap in the content cycle. When 3.23 did arrive, it was welcomed, but features like freight elevators and persistent hangars, originally planned for 3.23, got delayed to 3.23.x, and then pushed to 3.24. What's worse still is that the 3.24 patch was in testing for over 2 months, making it one of the longest tested patches. And it's not just 3.23 and 3.24. Let's talk about 4.0. Originally aimed for Q3, we're now looking at a Q4 release, and we all know that server meshing wasn't coming until 4.0, which wouldn't be released until later on in the year. We've been down this road before, so while I'm hopeful, I'm also preparing for more delays in the future. It's the nature of Star Citizen's development, but it does wear on you over time. And speaking of Star Citizen's development, if you're enjoying this breakdown so far and want to stay updated on everything coming next, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Not only will you get the latest on Star Citizen news and updates, but it's also a great way to stay connected with a growing community of space sim enthusiasts. Plus, you'll be the first to know when big patches like 4.0 drop, so you can dive right in without missing a beat. Even with all these delays, I'm not completely discouraged. I'm still holding out hope that 4.0 will be released by the end of the year. I know. We've been burned before by optimistic timelines. But server meshing is the big thing that we've been waiting for, and I genuinely believe it'll be a game changer once it's live. Let's be realistic though. I expect that server meshing will have its own issues when it first launches. That's just the nature of Star Citizen's development. But if they can get the kinks worked out, server performance could finally see the improvement that we've all been begging for. And once we've got a stable foundation, I think Star Citizen could really come into its own. The introduction of asteroid bases, contested zones, and the charge and drain gameplay mechanic will push the game forward in ways we haven't seen before. These will add more complexity and dynamics to the game, giving players more things to do and more strategies to explore. And then we'll also see deeper mechanics like engineering aboard multi-crew ships become integral to Star Citizen's gameplay. Once these features are live, I believe that the game will finally feel like it's truly starting to grow. At that point, it might actually be worth playing on a regular basis, not just when there's a free fly event or big new patch. Looking even further ahead, I'm optimistic for 2025. I think that Squadron 42 is closer than ever. My guess? We'll see it at either CitizenCon this year or sometime in Q1 of 2025. Once Squadron 42 is out the door, CIG can finally shift their focus fully back to Star Citizen. That's when I expect to see development speed up, with more features rolling out faster. We could also see the addition of a new system like Nyx in 4.1 next year, along with transient jump points, which would be a game changer for exploration and the overall sense of scale in the universe. Nyx would be my top choice for the next system, and I think it's a realistic expectation for next year. With that said, 2024 hasn't exactly been the watershed year we've all hoped for. There were moments of brilliance, the distribution centers, the UI overhaul, and the EVA updates, but the delays and setbacks have been hard to ignore. And frankly, they've made it tough to stay motivated to keep playing the game regularly. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Star Citizen just doesn't feel worth playing consistently right now unless you're diving in during a free fly event or a big patch release. And I think that's a big part of why my motivation to make videos about the game has dropped off as well. The excitement just isn't there when you're waiting months between updates, only to have those updates delayed again and again. But if 4.0 drops this year and server meshing does what we all hope it'll do, stabilizing the servers, improving the reaction time and difficulty of the AI, and making large-scale battles more feasible, I think we'll finally see Star Citizen start to realize its potential. And once that happens, I believe everything else will fall into place. The mechanics, the systems, the content, it'll all come together. So those are my honest thoughts on Star Citizen in 2024. It's been a rough year, there's absolutely no denying that. But I'm still cautiously optimistic. 4.0 has the potential to be the turning point that we've all been waiting for. If it delivers, 2025 could be the year Star Citizen really hits its stride. We've got a lot to look forward to. Squadron 42, new systems like Pyro and possibly Nyx, and hopefully a faster development pace once 4.0 lays the foundation. But what do you think? Are you still excited for 4.0, or has the wait worn you down? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear where your head's at when it comes to Star Citizen. If you've enjoyed this video and want to help support the creation of more content like this, consider becoming a member of the channel or on Patreon. Beyond just subscribing, becoming a member gives you access to exclusive channels in my Discord, membership recognition in my videos, early access to certain content, and more. Your support goes a long way in helping me continue to provide high-quality Star Citizen content, and you'll get even more value by joining our community. And if you want to hear more about how I think logistics could evolve in Star Citizen, make sure you check out this video. Fly safe, pilots, and we'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.